trust in our government. Public money has been spent to fight these. What measures would you advocate to restore that public trust, including any discipline for those who break the law?
Well, let's keep one thing in mind. We have found out about these indiscretions. So something obviously worked, because we know it. So something obviously worked. Look, I'm willing to consider anything that will make the public's trust in government greater. I'm not an opponent of government. I think one ought to be skeptical. I think we have a long history in this country, an appropriate history in this country, of being skeptical of government, because our founding fathers believed that power always had a potentially corrupting influence on people. So it's appropriate for us to be skeptical. But we shouldn't be haters of government. We shouldn't be hostile to government. We want to make government serve us. And I'm always skeptical about adding layer upon layer and law upon law, because what we really want to do is elect people who are committed to service rather than self-enrichment. People who are going to go there for the purpose of serving rather than for the purpose of creating a sinecure or creating, frankly, a career. I think our founding fathers believed that the best way for public service to operate for the good of all was for people to go into public service for a time, serve, and then come out and live under the laws that they created. So I'm a little bit reluctant and skeptical about adding new regulations. I can tell you that the federal government has done that. And all you hear about from it are complaints and issues that people have. You know, you fail to meet the exact reporting requirement, and it becomes a big issue. We make things very, very complex. We make it harder for people who are coming from nowhere to get involved in the process. In other words, people who are not experienced in the political world to move in and try to challenge the status quo. I think we've got to make it easier for people who want to get involved, who are not incumbents, to get involved. And so I'm always a little bit reluctant, but I'm certainly willing to consider anything that will help make the public more trustful of our public service. But I think that the real answer for this, the real answer is we need to know not only what people believe, but why they believe it and how deeply they believe it. Because what we're finding out is that often people say they believe things, and then when they get in office, we find out they really don't believe it based on their behavior. So we want people who actually believe in our country, believe in service, are not looking for self-enrichment, but are looking to serve the people of the Commonwealth of Virginia. I think if we do that, our need for additional ethics laws will probably not be as great as people feel it to be now.
Let's be frank. What has happened in Richmond over the past year is, I think, distressing and has been embarrassing for the Commonwealth of Virginia. There is no reason that a public servant such as myself should be in a position where we're taking special perks. It cannot happen. It should not happen in the Commonwealth of Virginia. I have an interesting perspective on ethics. As I told you earlier, I teach ethics, an ethics class at Eastern Virginia Medical School, and I have watched the evolution of ethics in medicine. In the early 1980s, really the sky was the limit between pharmaceutical companies and providers. People were taking trips to the Caribbean, they were going to lavish dinners, etc., etc. What has happened over time? Today, as a pediatric neurologist, I don't take anything from a pharmaceutical company to include a writing pen. That same evolution, and that's been good for medicine, by the way, that same evolution needs to happen in politics. Virginians deserve help. So what I have proposed, along with my ticket, number one, that public servants and their families do not take any gifts worth more than $100. We have also recommended, promoted that a special commission be set up in the Commonwealth of Virginia to deal with ethics reform that will have teeth in it, that will be able to investigate and prosecute ethics violations. You know, as I said in my opening statement, 2 years ago, I actually showed some vision on ethics. I introduced a bill that would put more teeth in ethics reform before any of this ever happened. And perhaps if it had passed, we wouldn't be standing here tonight having that discussion. It passed in the Senate. It was defeated in the House. I can promise you this year that there will be numerous pieces of legislation, and we, in a bipartisan way, as believe it or not we can do in Richmond, we will come up with new ethics reform laws that will keep the kind of circus that we have seen in Virginia this past year from happening anymore in the future. Thank you.